Hey everybody, Andy Kvernen here with another Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. I wonder, where do you go when you want to feel normal? I mean, what's your happy place? For me, I've got a few different happy places. Often it's with a rod in my hand and maybe my sons, my dad, or whomever. We're fishing and enjoying God's creation that way. Maybe a happy place for me is out in the woods. I got to go out in the woods on Sunday with my daughter, and we spent 3 hours hiking on Levis Mound. It was so fun, and I just felt God's peace and presence there. It was a happy place for me. Sometimes my happy place is, being at dinner with my wife and just getting to hang out with Christy and enjoy her company and some good food. That's a happy place. What's yours? And what do you do when you can't get there? Maybe that happy place isn't available to you right now because, because of circumstances. Maybe you're in a particularly busy time. Maybe you've lost a loved one that was associated with that happy place. Maybe the environment has changed so much that you're just struggling to have that sense of peace and stability. For the nation of Israel, their happy place was the Promised Land. In fact, the happiest of happy places was Jerusalem. It was Zion, where they experienced the fullness of God. And yet there came a point in their history, particularly after the split between Israel and Judah, where Judah was longing to have that sense of stability, that happiness, if you will, in Jerusalem. And yet here the Assyrian army was pressing in on them. That outside entities were making it very difficult for them to feel secure. Well, along comes Isaiah. God sends Isaiah with a prophetic message, both of judgment. Yes, you're going to have to leave for a while, but that's not the end of the story. Exile isn't the end. See, God will restore the fortunes of Zion, and here's how he's going to do it. And in this, you can find stability. You can find that happy place, if you will. Listen to what Isaiah writes in Isaiah chapter 33, verses 5 and 6. It says, "The Lord is exalted, for he dwells on high." And friends, it's so important that we remember the Lord is present tense exalted. The Lord dwells present tense on high. That the Lord is never removed from the highest place of glory and of sovereignty. He presides over all of the universe, and we can have confidence that he dwells there. Now that's the present, and that's always been. He's always dwelt on high. He always will. But listen to this. It goes on. It says, "The Lord is exalted, for he dwells on high. He will fill Zion with justice and righteousness." Now, there's a future tense here. He's going to do this. He'll fill Zion. Zion is the name for Jerusalem, with justice and righteousness. And as the people of Israel were looking around and they were seeing what was coming, this is not good news, God promises through Isaiah, you know what? The Lord is going to fill Jerusalem again with justice and righteousness. You can be confident of that. And then he says, ongoing here in verse 6, he says, "And he will," again, future tense, "and he will be the stability of your times." I love that. He will be, future, the stability of your times, of your present. God is going to be himself the platform for you to experience peace and rest. He'll be the stability of your times. He'll be your happy place. You can trust him in that. Now, he goes on, he explains it more. He says, abundance of salvation. Through God's provision, there'll be an abundance of salvation. And of course, Isaiah points over and over to the messianic truth of Jesus Christ, that there is a Messiah that's going to come, that will restore all that's now wrong. He'll make it right. He'll redeem it for the glory of God. So there'll be an abundance of salvation. There'll be wisdom, that the lack of wisdom that we now have, and boy, I don't know about you, but I lack wisdom these days. I've never done this before in times like this. I need God's intervention. One day, God will give us all wisdom, and we'll not wonder whether we ought to turn to the right or to the left. We'll be pointed directly into the presence of God. We'll have what we need. And then he says, abundance of salvation, wisdom, and knowledge. There'll be no lack of knowledge. Everything we need to know will be right there in front of us on Mount Zion, because Jesus will be there. So the Lord is exalted, for he dwells on high. He will fill Zion with justice and righteousness, and he'll be the stability of your times. Abundance of salvation, wisdom, and knowledge. And then get this summary statement here. The fear of the Lord is Zion's treasure. we look for peace. We look for that happy place in a variety of sources, from a variety of sources. And certainly there's nothing wrong with experiencing God's blessing out in nature, with a loved one, many of these things. But ultimately, Zion's treasure is the fear of the Lord. Zion's treasure is the person of God himself, that God makes himself available to us through Christ, and that is the source of greatest treasure, of greatest joy. Friends, in the midst of this uncertain time, this time of unprecedented instability, whether it's economic instability, whether it's medical instability, whether it's social instability, our God promises himself to be our stability. Remember that Zion's treasure is the fear of the Lord. Fear God, my friends. Look to him. Get your eyes up. Stay focused on his provision, and you too can experience his rest. God bless you. See you soon.